Welcome to the Real IDP Hunter podcast. I'm your host, Real IDP Hunter. Hey guys, tonight I'm joined by Jorge Edwards, the creator of Fantasy and Frames. We're going to talk about what we've seen in the preseason. For starters, I wrote a little article over at the Fantasy Six Pack, two articles actually: AFC coaching schemes and changes, and NFC coaching schemes and changes. And Jorge, let me tell you, he has watched a ton of football. So we got the idea. We're going to put all this stuff together. We're going to see what Jorge's been talking about, been looking at with his frames. We're going to put all four eyes to the test. So before we get started, you're probably wondering, the elephant in the room here is, why on earth are we wearing Superman shirts? Jorge, do you want to tell the audience?
Yeah, we're here because we decided that the fantasy football community needs to stop hearing all the craptacular IDP fantasy football takes from a lot of people out there and really save you from this. And we are your Superman of IDP this afternoon, this evening.
I'll tell you what, you can't argue that one. Yes, sir. So let's get this podcast going here. Jorge, I mentioned the articles I'm writing. I wrote some articles over on your site as well called Fantasy and Frames. For those that never heard of Fantasy Frames, and those that never heard of Jorge Edwards, I don't know how that's possible if you're in the IDP community. Of course, everybody knows Jorge Edwards, but what can you tell them about Fantasy Frames in general?
So Fantasy and Frames started it back in 2017. From that point, whenever I was playing fantasy football, I never played with DSTs. Every time I ever played fantasy football for my very first league, it's always been IDP. So I took that approach, and so whenever I was doing redraft content, it'd be offense and IDP. We included dynasty offense, dynasty IDP. So we've really been holding true to making sure that we're representing both sides of the ball, because that's what you see every Sunday. So there's no reason why you shouldn't play it that way in your fantasy football. And I just love IDP. I love combining that, with the offense, because when you start to learn the offense and you see the defense, you start working in your mind like, oh, this is how an offensive player could influence the productivity of a defensive player and vice versa. So learning that little nuance to the game, but we've been doing this, like I said, since 2017. We're entering year 9. So a lot of great content over there. We have premium content for $4.99 a month, where you're basically getting really in-depth content for IDP and offense. No sugarcoating it. And we give you unique takes, supported takes and information that we're not a big hot takey brand. I despise hot takes. I want informative information that you can walk away after reading it and saying, I learned something new, or this confirmed what I was thinking. We want to educate you folks as best as possible. So whether it's our premium content where we go really in depth, or your everyday content that we don't have behind a premium paywall, you're getting top quality research from us, however you want to look at it. So really happy with all the writers we have. They've all been doing a tremendous amount of work, present company included. We love all the articles you put over on Fantasy and Frame, Steve. Just top notch. The people love it. I love it. You definitely love it. Just a lot of fun fantasy football talk.
So on that note, you mentioned the premium content. There's free content too. All you guys got to do is go over to the website, Fantasy and Frames. For someone considering purchasing a subscription for the first time, or even someone that's just visiting the site, what are some things, or some of the authors that you have over there? What are some things that they could find, and what are some things they could expect?
So, for example, we have a tremendous author by the name of Colby Conway. You can find him in a lot of his work over on Fantasy Alarm. He's the host of the Fantasy Alarm Baseball podcast. Multifaceted, loves all the stuff regarding to fantasy sports, really loves his fantasy football. And so one recent article that he put out, he was looking at the biggest differences in ADP values per position across Sleeper, ESPN, Yahoo. All these platforms, not everyone's ADP is the same. And so he went in and he dug into the research, and he found out which positions are favored more in one platform versus the other. So that way you can kind of get the idea of like where you can find value in your drafts. He also did this article series where he was looking at 10 years of research per position to try and figure out where is the makeup, or blueprint rather, of what makes a quarterback one, a running back one, wide receiver, tight end, and so on and so forth. We have a second-year writer by the name of Aiden Weingartner, who just, just the passion he puts into his writing is very self-evident. Again, well supported, well researched. You couldn't ask for anything more. You want people who really dive deep into the numbers and into the analysis, to really get an idea of what is actually happening for IDP as well as fantasy football in general. And so you love the passion where all these guys are all involved in podcasts for us, short form videos across the different social media platforms. Like, we get our content out there for everybody out there. And so, whether it's our free content or our premium content where we really go really in depth, you walk away however you want to walk away from fantasyandframes.com, learning something and being completely informed when it comes time to making your roster decisions or draft decisions.
Yeah, I've spent some time on your website too recently, and with Aiden's been knocking out these articles left and right out of the park. I really enjoyed, and this one's behind the premium wall, but his wide receiver roles and their dynasty impact.
Right.
Again, you get IDP and offense. Not too many places do that, but you also have some stuff, for our audience. You got pressure rates, you got box snap efficiency, you got dynasty rankings. I remember in the offseason, we had a project. We did rookie linebackers, defensive line, defensive backs. Not only do we evaluate the whole class, but we ranked them. So there's so much there. I wanted to ask you, because your site's been out a while, as you said, what changed or improved from this season, from last season or previous seasons? And what is your personal process for using all that information to prepare for this season?
So I think everyone's goal, if you're a fantasy football writer, analyst, whatever title you want to use there, you always have to keep improving how you're analyzing the information that's available to you. And so one of the things that I pride myself on over at Fantasy and Frames, we have people who have been there for 9 years. We've had people who've been here for 2 years, 1 year, whatever you have. One of the things we always do is we always build each other up and try to figure out what are the better ways to keep improving our analysis. And so we take it to the next level each and every year. Everyone keeps constantly getting better, as well as the information out there, the NFL world and the fantasy football world grows, we grow along with it. And so we really do our due diligence and make sure that we put out the best well-informed information you can get out there.
Gotcha. And then one final question about your site, Jorge, because like I said, there's something there for everybody. We're talking about the articles. For those that don't know, you have tournaments as well. You get the women's best ball, you have the charity event, you have the real IDP Hunter best ball. There's something for everybody, even if you're in like the best ball community, dynasty community, redraft community, but you also have podcasts too. So I guess my final question here, when you sum up all of those things, when you sum up all of those things, that's probably the reason I want you on the show, because you're involved in everything from studying the preseason games. You're mixed up in film observations too, the coaching scheme, stuff like that. We can kind of bring it all together. But what do you think the audience, what do you think they could expect for this upcoming season for your website, Fantasy Frames, the IDP Best Balls, and also Shoot the Gap?
So for the information that you're getting from the best balls, this is really pivotal information. And, we partnered with you this summer to launch the Real IDP Hunters best ball drafts for specifically combo leagues on offense and defense. Here's why this tournament and these leagues matter so much. It is rare out there that you're able to find ADP that includes both offense and IDP. One of the biggest complaints you hear about people from IDP is like, I don't know how to find value when you're looking at a defensive player and an offensive player. We have that for you. Over 20 best ball drafts have been conducted. We have those updated ADPs going live every week. Shout out to Jamie Parag, who's running a lot of those best ball leagues. Like, that is a lot of work. So shout out to him. But we have that ADP on the site. And we all know best ball season kind of takes over during the summer, but then a lot of that information carries over into redraft. And honestly, some of that really sticks even through redraft, draft prep season. So again, you're getting a leg up on all the people who are playing with you in your combo offense and IDP leagues. And it's all right there for you for free just to check out and use as a valuable resource when it comes time for drafting in your combo offense and IDP leagues. As far as podcasts, we have our Fantasy and Frames Wednesday lineup where we have our Dynasty show, Dynasty 365. We have our redraft show, Fourth and Frames. And then, of course, Steve, as you mentioned, we have our IDP show, Shoot the Gap, which last year, for many years, it was Nate Markham and myself, and then it was Justin Taylor and myself. And then last year, As you so eloquently put in the offseason, we assembled the Avengers for the Avengers of IDP podcast, where it's basically you, myself, Justin Taylor, the godfather of IDP himself, Mr. Gary Davenport, and this year we have Mace Riney. Shout out to Mace for being named the lead Bucks writer over at buckswire.com. So a lot of quality analysts, a lot of hardworking analysts like yourself, Steve, who just have fun talking IDP. It is probably our most viewed show, which you can go over to our YouTube channel, hit subscribe over at Fantasy and Frames and check it out there. But we have a lot of fun on Shoot the Gap, and you walk away having a great time. It's like hanging out with your friends. It's just fun time, cracking jokes, but also you walk away really informed with all the IDP content you'll need from week to week. And we go year round with that show too, folks.
I said the Avengers. I also said Barbershop Quartet, because you got like everyone in there's a heavy hitter, from Mason, his new full-time position, to the Godfather IDP, JT over there at Dynasty rankings. His Dynasty rankings are bar none. And then, of course, yourself. So we got everybody. So that show comes on every Wednesday during the season. We go live 9 p.m. And you can hop over after that show if you haven't got your IDP fill. Me and Jamie have a show. We do like a waiver streaming episode. That's live too over on YouTube at the IDP Center. That's at 10 p.m. So that's 2 hours nonstop of IDP football during the season. And I'm pumped up and I'm geeked up and I'm excited to do this with you, my friend. All right. Thank you for that. Without further ado, pick any division you want, my friend, and just tell us what you learned about this preseason.
For the Cincinnati Bengals, this might be a very spicy. No, I take that back. This is a very spicy take right here. Everyone is accustomed to the offense being uber elite and the defense being god awful, which is why the offense has to be uber elite to keep them in games, because sure as hell the defense is not going to. I actually like the additions along the defensive line a lot this season. I think this is going to be helping. So not so much as far as edge rusher capacity, but protecting, playing well against the run. You have along the defensive line currently, as we speak, they've just signed Boye Mafe. On the other end, they have Miles Murphy, whose fifth-year contract was not renewed. So he's on his way out after this season. So he's playing for a contract. But then in the interior, you have Jonathan Allen, former Commander, former Viking, picked up here out of the University of Alabama way back in the day. And then they traded, that is the Bengals, their 10th overall pick in this past year's NFL draft for Dexter Lawrence, who is tearing it up in training camp. He had like an interception off of one quarterback recently, which is just unheard of. But in the preseason week, when we saw actually Cassius Howell, the second-round pick here, play very well amongst all the edge rushers, playing 17 total snaps, 10 pass rush snaps, got a pressure there. So whether it's in terms of him being a tackler, graded well, or a pass rusher. Now, again, stat tracking week one of the preseason is not a way to go by, but these guys are grading these players out. So you like what you saw there. Pure defensive lineman, didn't play too much out there in coverage. Al Golden running a base 4-3 there. So you like what you saw. Now here's the thing. I think this is the tail of the tape here for the Cincinnati Bengals. Everybody wants to know about the tandem here, Barrett Carter and Demetrius Knight. Mm-hmm. And if you go back and you look at his season-long, both of their season-long numbers, horrible at tackling, horrible at pass rush, horrible in coverage, just everything off the board, not great. Now, what you did see, though, is once Logan Wilson went down and was out for the season, Barrett Carter was actually tasked with being the green dot linebacker. And again, if you're looking at overall grades, not great. Well, let's think about this. You are a rookie. You are told, hey, our starting linebacker, who is the green dot, is out. It is your role now to call all the plays on the field. Just imagine that, Steve. Like you're starting your first season in NFL. It's a few weeks in. Hey, you're now the captain of this team. No experience. And again, it took him a while. It took him a while to get acclimated. Being a good communicator on the field, relaying all the different defensive play calls, plus having the timing down, like a lot of responsibility. But if you look at weeks 12 through 17, his metrics went nuts. Like they were fantastic. The tackle rate was, not high, 12.8%, but a low missed tackle rate of 4.7%. In terms of PFF grades, a 72.9 and a 77.5 in terms of being a defender overall, as well as a run defender. Demetrius Knight, on the other hand, no matter how you break up the course of the season, just poor all around. And so now in the offseason, you're seeing in mini camps and OTAs, Barrett Carter wearing the dot again. Coaches are like just raving about him. He's able to process things more quickly. It's another year in the system. So this is going to be a situation where Barrett Carter could definitely be somebody who's a value that you could potentially get later in your drafts, depending on ADP.
Yeah, I actually got a take on this. So
go for it.
Barrett Carter, what I love about Barrett Carter is he's free in ADP right now. He's pretty much free everywhere. Those guys both came in as rookies. God bless them, because that team, they had no line. They're getting overran. They were just getting stuffed at the line of scrimmage. The predecessors that they replaced, the Keem Davis Gaithers, the Logan Wilsons, all of those guys, they were the slowest NFL linebacker core in the entire NFL. So they had some shoes to fill. And I know a lot of IDP fans were kicking themselves. They're like, man, we could have drafted this year's linebacker class. Instead, we got these guys. I'm in the camp as you. Give them time. Let them cook, because that defensive line that they brought in, you mentioned Howell. Howell's going to get statistics. He's 6'3", 255. He's the runt of the litter. Let me just give you the sizes. Jonathan Allen is 6'3", 300 pounds. Okay, he's going to be right there with Dexter Lawrence, the mammoth, 6'5", 350. Shamar Stewart, don't forget about him. He's also 6'5", 267. And then they brought in Boye Mafe, 6'4", 265. And then Miles Murphy, 6'5" as well, 275. So one thing about this scheme, you said it's a good base, a good system. They like their 6'5" guys, and then they like their designated pass rushers to come in off the edge. But they're gonna eat up blocks, especially the defensive tackles. I've never seen the Bengals, the exception of BJ Hill, actually put money into this position. So with that eating up blocks, these linebackers are going to have time to develop and become players. So I'm kind of in on both of them. I'm clearly in on Carter. Knight, it would probably be in a deeper kind of setup. Sorry, I just wanted to get that in, Jorge. I feel like we're spot on.
Let's over the other team in Ohio. Let's start with the Cleveland Browns.
Okay.
Carson, your second-year linebacker, playing now, I believe, Quincy Williams over there from the New York Jets is the LB2. Some people might use the argument, well, Quincy Williams is going to depreciate some of Schlesinger's value. Look, I don't see it that way. If Devin Bush can have a successful season playing the LB2 next to Schlesinger, and Schlesinger still has a tremendous season, like, I'm not worried about Quincy Williams necessarily taking away any of the shine or ruining any of the luster of the Schlesinger statue for Browns fans. Starting up front, obviously, what's the big elephant no longer in the room? Myles Garrett. He's gone. He's with the Rams. You have Jared Verse there, who with the Rams, he had good pressure numbers, but the sack conversions weren't necessarily there. But as it stands right now for our lads and your graphic that you have here, which good job having all these graphics ready to go. This is very high quality here. You got this going on. This is fantastic.
I stay home from work, and this is what I do, Jorge. Just give me a day, let me cook.
I love it. As it currently stands, we have Alex Wright playing opposite Jared Verse. And Alex Wright had a good stretch last season where it wasn't so much like the sack totals that kept him alive. It was his tackle numbers, which helped give him a good elevated floor over the course of the season. So you love to see that. Again, we talked about the linebacking position. Here's where things get kind of like gross. And I want to say a name that of all the people on the Browns, I would never have expected him to get a contract extension this offseason. And let's talk about, the safety in the room here. We're talking about Grant Delpit.
Right.
You look at 2025, in terms of alignment snaps as a safety, 391 in the box, 227 free, played some slot, 271. So he was packaged as like a versatile defensive back. The only problem is, for somebody who's playing in the most, fantasy friendly, fantasy point producing friendly situations, like, he never really lives up to like what you expect given like his deployment and whatnot. What do the Browns do in the draft? They bring out they draft Emmanuel McNeil Warren. So last week, preseason week 1, he played 13 box snaps and 18 free safety snaps per ourlads.com. He is slated to play free safety, which I don't buy that whatsoever. They brought in him to be that Grant Delpit, replacement. But then here you go. They give him a contract extension. I'm like, are you teasing us again? Like, why are you doing this to us Browns fans? Like, it's bad enough you disappoint your real fans in real football. Now you're disappointing the fantasy fans who wanted Emmanuel McNeil Warren to be that next box safety. But alas, we can't have everything that we want. Can we, Steve?
No, we can't. The only thing I really have to add here, the scheme has kind of changed. I know what it kind of looks like. It's going to be a 4-2-5 for the most part. You're going to be playing that big nickel kind of role. So whoever kind of lands on that may be some IDP value, that nickel role. They did draft the safety that we like, the McNeil Warren, excuse me. He in college, the rookie. Again, we got people in front of him, but if he ends up popping in college, over 50% of his snaps were in the box. So that may be a role slowly being manifested for him, So just something to think about. But I don't really have much on this team. I know they're going to be really bad, but that's good for IDP, isn't it? They're going to get a whole lot of snaps, but yeah, I don't have much. You?
Nope, that kind of rounds it out for me. So let's go to the Baltimore Ravens. Again, not really a lot to say here. Who your linebackers are, who your safeties are. So those roles are kind of cut out there. The thing that I'm really disappointed in for the Baltimore Ravens is, like, could you please address the defensive line? I would just love that to be addressed just one time, one season. Give me the defensive line, because you look at last year. They traded for Draymond Jones. He really found a lot of success for the Titans. And then once he went to Baltimore, I was like, where'd he go? Last year they drafted Mike Green, questionable, stuff coming out of college, but they drafted him.
Senior Bowl, don't they?
Yeah. And so again, here's how bad it is in Baltimore trying to find a good edge rusher. If if we say Demario Davis is ancient, Kyle Van Noy is right up there. Yet Kyle Van Noy always finds a way to play some snaps here towards the end of the season. You're just like, hey, Ozzie Newsome, not the GM anymore. You might want to bring him back, because at least he knows when you have a deficiency, somewhere on your defense, like, he will find a way to address that. So they got Eric DaCosta replacing Ozzie Newsome as the GM, and I'm just shocked they have not addressed this position at all. Over the past few years.
I like the Kyle Hamiltons. I like the Roquan Smiths. I like that. They got a thing they call a glitch blitz, which is kind of neat, kind of interesting. I was trying to post that earlier. But, you'll see a lot of 3-3 schemes. The 5 defensive backs can push up players that we might not even have, listed or ranked in our IDP. So just keep an eye out for that. Keep an eye out on the Ravens and their little glitch blitz is what they call it. Again, I'm going to retweet some of that later on just to show you guys what that means or how that plays out. But I don't have a lot from an IDP standpoint on that team. Question for you about the Steelers, though.
Yeah.
The Steelers, in regards to the Steelers, they have Patrick Graham this year, who's kind of a carryover with the Raiders. Say what you want. He did the best he could with that Raiders team. He played a lot of one linebacker sets. That's what he did. I was a little worried about him going with the Steelers and giving Queen all of those good snaps and then kick Peyton Wilson in the curb, because we're all waiting for Peyton Wilson to pop. One thing I did notice this preseason, his schemes, 2 linebacker friendly. We're going to have 2 guys in there playing. But here's my question to you now. We've seen Wilson. We've seen Queen. We're also seeing a little bit of Holcomb. How do you call it? Are you full on the Peyton Wilson experience this year or not? What do you say?
So I am for Peyton Wilson. As far as Holcomb or Jamin Davis, who had a good game last week, like, no, I'm good. As somebody who was there when Ron Rivera drafted Jamin Davis, who thought he was going to be the next Luke Kuechly, and that did not happen at all. Good preseason week. Good preseason week one. It is the Queen show and the Peyton Wilson show. Now here's the thing. I think both of them are going to have a lot of success. In terms of Patrick Queen going into his contract season, currently listed as having the green dot. Do I like it? No. Do I like the opportunity? Yes. But one of the things that has been a liability for him is just poor play and coverage. And so one of the things Coach Patrick Graham has been saying, they kind of want to turn him more into a blitzing role linebacker, applying pressure, because he actually had amongst all off-ball linebackers the most pressures last season. So maybe changing his secondary role from being helping out in run support could give him an added boost. But I don't like it. I don't like it. And if I don't like it, I'm not going to do it. Versus Peyton Wilson, he had a team high NFL run stop percentage, a 15% tackle rate with a 10.6% missed tackle rate. And you like that. You like 10s and less. So right there, so you like what you see there. Both of them had 32 defensive stops overall last season, but it's Wilson who is just by far the most efficient linebacker for this Steelers team. So if they do end up going with the nickel sub package with two linebackers, I see a situation where you're going to see Patrick Queen play for a contract elsewhere, and it's Peyton Wilson and whoever they want to draft next year come in and help out with the second inside linebacker spot. So, yeah, very high on Peyton Wilson. And you mentioned ADP, again, buried there.
Yeah, buried. You're talking about efficient linebackers. I'm going to talk about transition to efficient defensive linemen. When you think of this team, you think they have really good edges. They have Watt, Alex Highsmith, Nick Herbig. And honestly, that order 1, 2, 3, the efficiency is the other way around. You have Nick Herbig with 48 pressures in 14 games, 22.4% pressure rate. Then you got Alex Highsmith, 44, 13 games, 15.3 pressure rate. Watt had a kind of injury-plagued season, and he still gave us DL1 stats, but he's less than those guys. Do you have a batting order for these guys? Do you see the end of the road for Highsmith, or any thoughts on Herbig or Highsmith?
Well, so Herbig, you pay him what, that $100 million. First of all, the fact that he got $100 million deal, that blew my mind when we got that. I think that happened at Fantasy Football Expo weekend, if memory serves me correctly. Yeah. He's the future here. TJ Watt, he has a large contract that's not moving. So I do believe this could be a situation where Alex Highsmith could be on his way out next season. Now, the coach speak is we're going to have these guys in a rotation. Gladys Louise Tyler, who we all met for the first time at the Expo and the Kings Classic a few weeks ago, she brought up a very good point, and this is something that I read into a little bit more according to defensive coach Patrick Graham. For so many years, it's been on one side Watt, on the other side Highsmith. Well, apparently there's talk of like using TJ Watt in a more Micah Parson-esque role when he was with the Dallas Cowboys, where they're moving him all along the defensive line at various stops so that way that he can kind of create mismatches. It's kind of letting him roam free, as it were, which, again, you have somebody who can put up the pressures, put up the sacks, confusing offensive blockers. Like that, for me, screams like a mismatch that could actually make TJ Watt potentially even more dangerous than he had been previously. But to the three-man rotation that the Steelers are talking about utilizing with Herbig, Watt, and Highsmith, I hope, I wish they would have done this when they had, a better quarterback situation. Aaron Rodgers, not the guy he was in Green Bay. So I hope they're able to keep them in games. Obviously Steelers fans are, but for fantasy purposes, if I had to pick one of the linebackers, I'd still roll TJ Watt, because again, it's this mismatch usage and switching of different positions along the defensive line that is going to, for me, elevate him a little bit higher than these guys. So as far as efficient, that's the thing. Alex Highsmith, he puts up tackles, man. He's a tackle guy. He's the run stopper of the edge rusher duo, and you take that opportunity away from him by Herbig. I think that shoots Herbig a little bit higher. He goes 2, and then Highsmith goes 3. That's just my take there.
So I do have one more player in here, and we can move on. But there's a hidden player on this roster, and I did this Fantasy Expo weekend, and I'm going to do this on our upcoming My Guys episode. I'm going to talk about Deshaun Elliott. People are afraid of Deshaun Elliott. I actually have him higher in consensus. I have him as in my top 10 as far as my rankings go right now. That may be a little too high, but I can make a case for a top 12 easy. Top 10 is where I got him right now. This is where I'm landing. People are afraid, and his ADP is buried because Brisker's there now. But Brisker plays a lot of his games free. He does a lot of the back play. People are afraid. I don't know why, because Ramsey's there, but Ramsey plays a lot of slot other roles, right? People are afraid. I'm making this up. Joey Porter, he plays outside. So all of that spells what? Elliott is going to play in the box, provided he's healthy. And that's another thing. You're buying the dip on an injury tag. If this doesn't do it for you, Jorge, check this out. He had 109 tackle opportunities when he was healthy in 2024. Now, last year he got hurt, so it's kind of a mulligan. I can't really judge for that. But in 2024, he had 109 tackle opportunities. How many tackles do you think he made?
You said 110 tackle opportunities?
He had 109 tackle opportunities. How many tackles do you think he made in that sweet box roll?
All of them?
He made 108 tackles, according to ESPN right now. 109 opportunities, 108 tackles. He only missed one freaking tackle. It's a 0.9% missed tackle rate. That's what this guy has. So, again, one thing he can do if he doesn't get hurt, he can tackle. So that's a player I'm kind of interested in too, and you can get him way late, especially if you punt the defensive back position like I do.
100%. Dude, let's well, you and I and JT and Gary, we have different philosophies on defensive backs, but we'll save that for another show. But I love how you had to throw that part in here. At least that's what I do. I'm like,
that's
who else
funny.
does that too.
Well, you know what? Like, every draft is different. We'll leave it like that. Because, like, if somebody leaves me Derwin James or Kyle Hamilton in the 7th round, I'm gonna take them because that's value. But it's not part of my strategy. It's usually one of my less premium positions. I want the wide receivers. I want the running backs. I want the elite DLs and linebackers. You know what I want right now, Jorge? We got one more division in the AFC, don't we?
Yes, we do. And I think you're going to love talking about this one because I know there's a guy that you are very high on that a lot of people probably are sleeping on because he's not a quote unquote household name yet. So let's go to the AFC South. Let's start with the Tennessee Titans.
If this is who I think it is, everybody is spouting this name now. So we had it early, but every Darren article I'm looking at has it now, and I'm like, oh gee, thanks.
Well, So let's talk about one of the most polarizing linebackers for the Tennessee Titans. Let's talk about Cody Barton.
Okay.
Let's talk about Cody Barton and how this guy, you just want him to go away, but he never goes away. There's always like a reason he stays. He stays relevant. And let's talk about the other polarizing guy for the Tennessee Titans. Do you know who I'm going to talk about? Let's talk about Anthony Hill Jr.
Okay.
Let's talk about Anthony Hill Jr.
Okay.
Anthony Hill Jr. and Cody Barton. Basically, mirror images of each other when you think about it. Both play downhill, both play against the run. Anthony Hill Jr. is somebody who likes to actually get behind the line of scrimmage. And he's been known for getting a lot of plays on ball and tackles for losses. So basically, those are your guys playing in the middle. Oh, and there's this guy. I don't know if you heard of his name is Cedric Gray. He's all right. He only had, I think it was like 120 plus tackles. I don't know the exact number, but I think it was like one of the highest numbers.
LB6 and 1, 2, 3 scoring last year.
Right. He's playing early on. It was like he's going to be weak side linebacker. Then all of a sudden he's going to be middle linebacker. So the fact that there's that discussion of sliding into a tackle premium role is fantastic. Last year he had some coverage deficiencies, particularly because how he was asked to play in coverage. He would always be turning his back to the quarterback and kind of like chasing down, opposing tight ends and whatnot. This year, with Gus Bradley as the new defensive coordinator, one of the things they've emphasized this offseason is like, dude, don't turn around. Like, you turn around, you're dead. They want him to really focus on his athleticism and kind of like keeping everything in front of him, because if he can see it anywhere on the field, whether it's playing in the middle of the defense or playing out in coverage, he is very good at his reaction time, getting to the ball, getting to the receiver. So this guy has it all. I have him in redraft as I think he's my linebacker 5. Like, I'm all in on Cedric Gray. I don't think it's a fluke. What you like to see about this guy is that he can play all three downs. Dude's just a baller. You like what you see. He got better as the season progressed last year. Run defense grade, elite. But for me, what really was disappointing this past week was Anthony Hill Jr. I thought he was in a good spot to usurp Cody Barton. Dude had a 33% missed tackle rate, 33.3% missed tackle rate. That's not how you take somebody's starting job. So if that continues and does not get better, dare I say, Cody Barton may again still be a starting linebacker, but I hope that's not the case.
You know what's interesting about that though too? Like his profile, he's really good on the edge. He's not that good in coverage, but he's like a top LB 5 or 6. I mean, we had him a little bit faded more than the consensus, but we didn't expect this terrible missed coverage rate. Only thing I'm going to say right now, he's a rookie. We're going to keep it in mind. But you're hearing it first from Jorge Edwards, sports fans. As far as Cody Barton, he's like Jason Part 6. He's alive. He's thriving. He's on the back end of my rosters. I've been wanting to cut him for so long. You can still play Cody Barton in these linebacker preferred formats. So just keep an eye on that. There's a lot of crazy stuff going on with the Colts. Let me just say that now. But all right. Interesting linebacker developments for sure.
If you don't mind, I kind of want to put you on the spot here because there's a guy that you've been talking about before we go to the Colts for the Titans.
Yeah.
Kevin Winston Jr. Per our lads, he's technically supposed to be lining up at free with Amani Hooker, Gary's favorite hooker, playing the box safety role. What are your thoughts? Because I know you're high on Kevin Winston as a sleeper at safety.
Yeah, but the problem is everybody's high now, so now I got to fade. You know what I mean? But so in the offseason, the Titans, I'll start it here. The Titans changed over to Robert Saleh. Robert Saleh has a tell. He plays these 4-3 under coverage 3 zone kind of schemes. Gus Bradley loves the cover 3 and the cover 1. He likes to play these single highs. So he's going to have one athletic defensive back there, and the other one's going to cheat up to the box. Now, Amani Hooker could play either spot. He really could. But the issue with Winston is they just bought him like a brand new sports car, right? His pedigree in college was he never missed a friggin' tackle in college, his whole career at Penn State. He was a hard-hitting guy. He was a box kind of defender. So the take I had in the offseason was, before everybody else every site has one now, but like it fits like the Michael Jackson glove. It just fits. He should thrive in a system like this. He should beat your guy. And to go back to what you said about Gray, he had the 92.7 run defense grade, second best on PFF last year. Give him a full season. Give him a full season, Robert Saleh, who has mentored guys like C.J. Mosley, Fred Warner, Dre Greenlaw, Jermaine Sherwood. Like, he has that linebacker guru in him. Those are two players that I'd be interested in taking. I'd be interested in taking them if the value is there for me in drafts. So yeah, that's my take on Winston. I'm kind of interested to see where he plays. Again, I don't draft defensive backs super early if they fall to me in the scheme, because in every defensive scheme, the first thing that changes the defensive backs, how they move them around. So it's a boomer bust. And then one more, Jorge, for you. Yeah, Kendrick Falk is a boomer bust too, because we didn't like the profile. He's a bigger guy. He's a lengthier guy. He good pass rush, not so good run defense. If Saleh gets his hands on him and is able to move him around the way that he could command defenses, Gus Bradley too. I know I'm giving Saleh a lot of the credit here, but he may be somebody in IDP that I want to play. I've seen him go in deeper leagues like the last pick in 5th round, 6th round, something like that. So those are the players I'm kind of interested in, and of course Barton if it's a deeper league.
All right. 100% agree there. You said you wanted to go to the Colts because this was this was fun. This was fun. That's the one that the audience is going to want your take on. And you see what I pulled up on my screen. So just go ahead, my friend, because I can't call the Colts
I'm kind of curious to see what you have here.
Okay, so for those watching and those listening, the oh my god, this is so funny to talk about because I feel like so many people are like getting this wrong, and I'm like, how are you coming to this conclusion? And the conclusion is, we've seen Coach Lou Anarumo. Basically, there's an article where he's talking about safety rookie linebacker CJ Allen and safety Cam Bynum have been seen with the green dot calling the team's plays. Furthermore, going into how Bynum could potentially be the box safety, even though he's played free safety his entire career, or the coverage safety. Balderdash, not true. False. Does balderdash mean like bullshit? I feel like that's, sorry for cursing, but I feel like that's what that phrase is supposed to mean.
If it doesn't, we're going to start using that.
Love it. I love it. Look, Bynum is the free safety. AJ Halsey is going to be the box safety, because you know what? It's the same Nick Cross paradox. One of the things when Anarumo came over from Cincinnati was like, oh, he's going to have so many safeties rotating, yada, yada, yada. You know what? Nick Cross coverage, not great. So they didn't rotate him. They played him close to the line of scrimmage, made him like a hybrid safety linebacker. Guess what? AJ Halsey, week 1 of the preseason, not great at coverage. So what did he do? He's played as the box safety there. So I am not buying one bit that Bynum is going to be the newish box safety. Like, that's not happening. Like, why would they put a liability in AJ Halsey at free when that's not a strength? Like, it just doesn't make sense. But you hear a lot of people saying the opposite, and that is why the Supermen that you're watching right now with our matching T-shirts are telling you don't buy the hype. Sometimes people put out takes for the sake of just putting out takes, but
yes,
they actually like do some research and see if stuff makes sense. And Bynum as a box, it just does not make sense to me.
To quote the great Michael Keaton or the band TLC, don't go chasing waterfalls, right?
I love it. But yeah, dude, let's start with the guy I think had the tail of the tape here for the Indianapolis Colts. Come on down, Caden Curry.
There he is.
4 pressures, a sack, just unbelievable play. 4 pressures, 1 sack, 5 total tackles. Excuse me. You want to talk about a kid who, young man. He earned the young man moniker here. 6th round pick of the Colts this season. If he continues to do this, he has to beat out currently on the Arlad's depth chart, the starting left defensive end, Arden Key. I don't think that that's outside the realm of possibility that, again, if Caden Curry can continue this type of performance and increase his pressure numbers as the preseason goes on, we could be in a very sneaky situation where he could be challenging for a starting spot maybe towards the end of training camp or potentially a few weeks into the regular season. Obviously, he'd be playing across Latu. From front to back, this Colts defense is very exciting. But let's get the situation.
On that note, too, Jorge, Caden Curry, I got him on my waivers piece, which we'll do on the end. I feel he's a good stash as well. 29.4% pressure rate. What'd you say? He had a sack. He had 2 tackle for loss.
5 Yeah.
2 pass deflections. That works for me. I kind of like that you said that. So, yeah, I'm keeping an inventory here, and at the end, I guess we'll go over our favorite waivers. But that's the guy I'm interested in, so thank you for saying that.
Now here's a situation where at the linebacking position now where, man, had you asked me like a month ago, I would have been like, CJ Allen, like he's going to be the guy. Dude can't stay on the practice field to save his life. He's been dealing with injuries all the training camp, and you're just like, man, you are going to make me say the words Akeem Davis Gaither. That is not cool. Why, CJ Allen, are you making me say the words Akeem Davis Gaither? I don't want to say the words Akeem Davis Gaither, but you, sir, are making it say that. To which I will say, Akeem Davis Gaither, do not draft him. Or do not, I don't care if he's the green dot. Don't do it. Don't press send, as Herm Edwards used to say when athletes were talking on Twitter too much. You don't want that. You don't want that juju, not one bit. We go to, though, a player who graded very well, who is also a rookie, and Bryce Botcher. He only had two solos and two solos and an assisted tackle this past week. He also had 2 defensive stops. It was a little bit of a liability in coverage, but not so much. Only allowed 14 yards after the catch. So again, not great, but not to the point where I'm like, okay, well, his tackling metrics were phenomenal. So he's somebody who has been getting a lot of buzz in training camp. And if I'm the Colts and my goal is to start CJ Allen week 1, why sit on this? I feel like this is a situation like, dude, just roll out all your rookie IDPs because great positions, great track records in college, and Bosher is definitely buried down your ADP, whichever platform you're using. So this could be a situation where he played very well, and he should be able to sooner rather than later keep Akeem Davis-Gaither off the field.
So you already kind of said it, but I'm just going to kind of reiterate this point. Akeem Davis-Gaither, the case for Akeem Davis-Gaither, he knows this system. He's played with Lou Lamoriello, how do you say his name, with the Bengals. He had a 12% tackle rate last year, decent enough. He could fill in while these rookies are up and coming. I would assume that CJ Allen, the pedigree, they're going to give this guy every chance they could. The case for Bryce, how do you say it? Botcher?
It's Botcher, I believe. Yeah.
He's a two-way sport player. Very athletic. I mean, shoot, I actually interviewed him down at the Senior Bowl. Cerebral type of player is what he said to me. In fact, I'm pulling that up on screen right now as we're talking. But between the two, obviously I want the one dynasty, and then I want the vet and redraft. For your game, no. Are you calling it now? Are you calling it? You think Bryce is the LB2 from what you've seen, or how do you see this playing out?
So, had you asked me before the game, I would have said they might as well. I wouldn't have said he is. I would have said he should be, but he probably won't be just because coaches like to have the veteran presence and the familiarity and blah 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 blah. But I want him to be badly. But that to answer your question, I don't know. What made things a little bit murkier was last year's one of the preseason darlings, offseason darlings, was Jalen Carley's. A lot of people were saying this guy could be a good player because he, I believe on Sleeper, was like linebacker and safety eligible, and he had all this hype entering the season. But the dude, like a lot of injuries, kept him off the field for a large part of the season. Dude, last week in preseason was by far the best graded off-ball linebacker. Yep. Like you look run defense, tackling, coverage grade. Like those are the things you want to have a guy who's playing on the field, all 3 downs. So I'm not, like to quote the great Bill Parcells, I'm not getting the anointing oil just out yet. But that was a situation where I'm just like, oh, you're back, huh? I don't know what to think of you. You are confusing me.
This isn't the podcast. We can probably do this on like another episode, whatever. Yeah. I don't chase the hybrids. A lot of people do. They've been doing IDP for the last decade. But what do we know about hybrids? They get decked. They get hurt. I mean, they just don't. What Sua Cravens was like a popular name a decade ago.
Oh my God, yeah.
I never chased them. I want the guy in the box or the slot because I see this. But I was waiting to see if you were going to say it. Jalen Carley sighting. Oh my goodness, he just appears right when you thought you had this thing figured out. I can't call it. The only other player I want to kind of focus in on, because this is a DL2 that I think is a fringe DL1 coming. But the thing about Latu, the problem with him is a lot of his stats came from like big plays, splash plays, which we can't gauge, interceptions, pass. He's just an interesting profile. But he also had 61 pressures too. And the way I evaluate pressures per PFF, 60 or higher, that's some elite range. And he's 61, so he's right there knocking on the door. He'll be paired up this year all in the end because they got rid of pretty much everybody else, right? JT Tool, whatever, Polo, whatever you say his name, he's got one pass rush move right now, but that could develop into something if Arden Keys and all these, not Arden Keys, but if all these other guys don't pan out over there, that could be something too. But I'm exclusively looking at Latu in the back end. Like if I don't have one of those top, what I do that last podcast, top 15 DL1s, I can see Latu in there chasing the rest of them.
No, I totally get that one. Let's go to Jacksonville. Jacksonville's a fun story. I feel like they're one of those teams that I mean, if you like the kiddie version of Splash Mountain, which is basically like a 5-foot drop as opposed to like a 50-foot drop. It's okay. I mean, it's like the purgatory of IDP, I believe here. You go to last week of the preseason, like not a lot of news to report there. The linebacking situation is kind of interesting because we hear a lot of talk about Ventrell Miller being the guy who's going to be playing next to Foye Oluokun because Devin Lloyd's now with the Carolina Panthers. I am curious, that you hear a lot of hype as far as Branson Combs is the name I hear a lot of things about in terms of like his coverage ability, potentially being like an inside factor to him challenging Ventrell Miller. But Ventrell Miller, week 1 of the preseason, graded very well against in the run, tackling, had a 67 coverage grade, so not great, but it's really the Branson Combs thing, the high coverage number. And I'm just thinking to myself, if he can get better as far as a run defender and a tackler, this could be a name that could potentially give him that 3-down opportunity because he plays so well in coverage. But for right now, I think the LB2 spot is still Ventrell Miller, but definitely something to pay attention to. Then we go to the defensive back situation. Nothing really jumps out to me that I'm like, oh yeah, this is fun. I'm sure that's exactly what everybody's saying. Oh yeah, this is fun. Maybe I'm missing something, Steve, but is there anything else that you're seeing off the top of your head that you're kind of curious about?
Combs-Miller argument, you hit it on the head because we already know what the rest of these players are here, the Oluokuns, what have you. I don't really chase a lot of Jaguar players. So, unless you got something else, you can move on to the next one.
All right, let's go to the final team in the division. Let's go to the Houston Texans.
Okay.
The Texans just extended Henry To'oTo'o, who will be the LB2 for the Houston Texans. It's really Azeez Al-Shaair, who is probably going to be the main guy there for the Houston Texans. We look at the edge situation; they're set there. We look at safety. Nothing jumping out to me per se. This is kind of a very boring team. We kind of know what we're getting there. I will say Kamari Ramsey played well.
That was my take too. Like it's a boring kind of team, but yet they were the number 1 defense. So go figure, right? You got to talk.
I mean, and I guess that's how most players and coaches want it. They want to fly under the radar until they surprise people and then they get more respect and acknowledgement. But that's hearsay. That's coach speak. All right, let's go to the NFC.
So on the Texans, though, I would say if your league is deep enough, because I always write every year the overlooked linebackers, Azeez Al-Shaair. He's always one of those guys that he could be an LB1, kind of thing. So that's always a player who's buried deep in ADP. I mean, he did have 103 tackles last year. Henry To'oTo'o, however you say it, overlooked is the key word for him. Not only did he just sign a 2-year deal, but he had 105 tackles in 2004, 95 in 2005. He's going to have a meaningful role now that Harris is gone. I'm getting him in those Gary Davenport leagues, around 20-something-ish. You know what I mean? That's another player that's going to start for me on some kind of bye week. We all know who Hunter is and Anderson is. You're taking those guys early. Petrie is buried in ADP. I got him in the Kings Classic super late. And the reason his name comes up is it's all scheme dependent, like a lot of defensive backs, right? If he gets that slot role, you have a top player. If he doesn't, DB2, DB3 meddling. end this thing. And no, I'm kidding. So here's what I had for waivers, guys. I'm just going to go off of what I've been talking. Just like smaller leagues, and I'll read these and you tell me if there's anybody else you have. Yeah. Cedric Gray, a lot of people in like smaller formats don't know Gray. Gray, there's sites right now that are saying that he's getting a reduced role. He's getting an increased role. If you look at what's going on right now in preseason, he's getting an increased role. He's going to be a top player. Get him now while you can, while there's misnomers out there. So please do that in your smaller leagues. Barrett Carter's another one that's a free green dot player that nobody was talking about until Jorge brought it up today. So after his recording, he's probably going to be expensive. Jorge mentioned Caden Curry with that 29.4% pressure rate. I'm not going to beat a dead horse. Jorge also mentioned Red Murdoch with that 17% awesome tackle rate. So those are my big ones there. I would say these guys are like, yeah, butts, wait and see. Stash this before week 1, though, if you read the tea leaves the right way. Kendall Daniels, if he's still playing the green dot, if we don't know what's going on with Divine. Even if he's not playing the green dot, if Divine's hurt, you know it's going to be him. So that's a good stash. Jacob Rodriguez in the smaller size leagues, his ADP is buried if you're still doing rookie drafts. I got him a lot of places where people were just lazily drafting off a sleeper ADP. That's their mistake. So I'm not going to beat a dead horse on him. Jaden Duggar, we talked about this podcast. He has a chance, keeps making these impact plays, and LB3. We didn't talk about it because I don't know how true this is yet. The Lions got a guy, Ahmed Hassan. That guy's doing some nice things there. And then Jorge mentioned Josiah Trotter wearing the green dot. If he starts, I don't know. I put if he starts because I don't really know how that's going to play out. The preseason has tricked me before. And then lastly, I got some deep dynasty big play watches. I don't know the Samson thing, Samson or I don't know how. I can't say these names, so I'm not going to try. Whoever the edge is on the Falcons, we think it's Samson. It could be. Yeah. I don't know. Thank you for helping me there. There's a player. He's an undrafted free agent. His name is Sion Sloan. I profiled him. I kind of like him as a deep play. He's on the Raiders, who need a lot of help. That might be something. I've seen him get a sack. Again, I've been fooled before. We're talking deep plays here. Hey, Cardinals, player we didn't say, Cameron Robertson, 29.2% pass rush win rate. That could be something in a deep, deep play. Again, I don't want to talk too much about these linemen, especially for the Cardinals. David Walker of the Bucks. I got to interview him 2 Senior Bowls ago. He's been getting a sack every day at OTAs, every day just about. So you can see him on the news. And then lastly, you can go back to my videos on IDP Center. I did a couple shorts. I got to see Grayson Holton up close. He's a rookie. He's a DT. He's got really good metrics. I'll just leave it at that. So those are my plays right there. I guess you can throw the Jaguar linebacker in there as well, Jorge. But is there anybody else out there that you're looking at after this preseason week 1, upcoming week 2? Is there anything else that we're not giving the audience here? Because this was a home run of a podcast.
I think Bryce Botcher of the Colts is somebody to pay attention to. I would love to see both of those guys. And the guy who coincidentally snuck up on that Colts thing, and I want to say in deeper leagues, Jalen Carley's, that could be a thing. Maybe we were a year late early on him last year, so you definitely enjoyed seeing the metrics across how he's run defense, tackling, coverage, so on and so forth. Again, deep leagues, deep benches. I mean, if you have the space and you can cut somebody there, I'd see that as an option. But probably those two for the Colts, because I think the Colts got an embarrassment of riches of young defensive talent. So if I can get a piece of that, I would definitely trying to do that. Jake Galladay for the Vikings, again, dynasty leagues, just because we saw him have a lot of snaps and played well in coverage, which is an advantage over Eric Wilson and Ivan Pace. As far as Leo Chenal, if he's available, which he probably isn't, but if he is, somebody to pay attention probably during the waiver wire once the season gets going. As far as any other linebackers per se, Caleb Elarms Orr, big fan of him, obviously, as we were talking about the Bills earlier. I think those are the ones that really jump to my forefront right now, that I would probably recommend on top of the guys that you were mentioning. Red Murdoch, but going back to that took me really by surprise. I was not expecting that out of the last pick of the NFL draft. That was really awesome to see, and I hope he can maintain that consistency.
See, I was on him. I was on him during the rookie thing because I knew he led, the college in tackles and everything. But I thought Justin Chernard did enough to keep his LB2 float because he's more of a big play, splash play guy. So now I have questions, and again, we'll have more questions for week 2. No, we're not going to do another 3.5-hour podcast for week 2. I know Jorge wants to. I don't. I will say this. If you people in the audience, if you are listening to this, not only do you love IDP, you're probably winning your league because this is every trick that we know all summed up in one video. Jorge, I don't have anything else. So if you want to tell the audience where they could find you and what you are working on, we could land this airplane and call it a night.
Sounds good. So first of all, thanks again for having me on your podcast. I always love talking shop with you. We were joking this could go 3 hours, and it's gone 3 hours and 24 minutes. So I guess we know the power when you put two Supermen together in IDP. But no, seriously, thank you very much. You can find me on Twitter and on Instagram at Jorge B. Edwards. But I'd rather much have you follow at Fantasy and Frames on Twitter and TikTok and Instagram. Pretty active on there. Head over to fantasyandframes.com. Check out all of our free and premium content for both offense and IDP in a redraft perspective, as well as a dynasty, and now as well as the best ball with all the real IDP hunters best ball drafts going on, which happy and very awesome that we're working together with that, getting a lot of information for people out there to get some gauge on where the value is in combo leagues. So just, follow us, again, fantasyandframes.com, follow our podcast, Dynasty 365, Fourth and Frames. And of course, coming back next week, we got Shoot the Gap with Steve, myself, Base Rennie, JT, Justin Taylor, and Gary Davenport. So a lot of good stuff going there. Just a lot of great stuff. So thank you very much.
A lot of good-looking people on that podcast.
A couple of Superman on one that I know is there. So yep, that's our 10 p.m. crew there. Myself, Drew Scott, Aiden Weingartner, who we talked about, and of course Nate Markham. So
Drew's another one up and coming. I love Drew's work too. You got a great team assembled. If you don't want to do the Justice League one, we'll say the X-Men. You got a good X-Men.
I like that. Thank you. So no, seriously, just thanks, man. I'm glad we got together to do this. And cheers to many more shows together.
Cheers if you listen to all this, because you're going to be so far ahead. It's not even funny. The quote Back to the Future, we're so far ahead of things. Where we're going, there's no roads. So
I love it.
Everybody, thanks for coming on. Thanks for hanging out with us. And hopefully you had a good time, because these are ones that I'll listen to when I'm in the car or I'm going somewhere. You know what I mean? So again, thanks for having us on. Thanks for listening, and talk hard, everybody. Take care.